Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with my sister Sarah. As you guys know, we live in the central U.S. That is where she studied her law, and it is where she is currently working at a firm and has been for a little while now. So, Sarah, let us know. Let's start off with, for example, what is your actual occupation as a lawyer?
Sure. I'm a family law attorney. So I do mostly divorces, guardianships, adoptions, paternity cases, things like that.
And then, give us a little rundown of when you were in school, getting your doctorate. What was your favorite subject, or what was your favorite case study that you did?
Law school, definitely criminal law was a course I really enjoyed, and criminal procedure. I really liked hearing about different criminal cases, the facts of the case, and there's a lot of constitutional law involved in especially criminal procedure. So I liked hearing about both the perspective from the prosecutorial side and from the defense side. So just kind of that intersection of the facts of a criminal case with how rights every day that we have that we don't really think about are protected, can be violated, things like that. I Those were definitely my favorite courses.
Okay, gotcha. And so far, how are you liking the attorney side when it comes? Would you rather be a prosecutor, or are you liking what you're doing thus far?
Well, every prosecutor is an attorney. Every When you get your JD, your Juris Doctorate, you then can elect to pass or take the bar and pass the bar. And after you pass the bar, in the United States anyway, you become a practicing attorney. So anyone who's been to law school has their JD and can do whatever they want after, but in order to practice law, they have to actually pass the bar. So in terms of what I do, do I like it? I love it. I love family law. I love helping people, when they have a divorce case, when they have a paternity case, when they want to adopt a child. I really enjoy it. I love it.
Awesome. And what would be your most common case? So a divorce is what you said.
Divorce, yeah. Divorce. A new divorce case probably comes in 2 times a week, I would say, and I'm working on a divorce case probably every day, whether that's an existing case or a brand new case. But that's definitely the most common thing that I do.
How long has it been since you passed your bar exam? Do you know?
So I graduated law school in May of 2017, and then the bar exam in our state is held in July. So I took it in July of 2017, and then results take about a little over a month. So I passed the bar, or I found out that I passed the bar in September of 2017, and that's when I was admitted to practice law.
And you were an intern before you had finished law school. How long precisely, like, was that? Do you know how long before you became a full-fledged member of your firm?
Oh, so I don't know how every state in the US does this or how other countries do it, but in our state, you have the option to take an exam while you're a law school student and get a limited license to practice. With this limited license, you're extremely limited on what you can do, and you have to work with a senior attorney to kind of sign off, and you have to get so many hours per week. But I got my limited license and I interned at both the public defender's office and the district attorney's office. And the limited license is really helpful, in especially if you're doing criminal law, because it's easy to get your hours. You're able to really kind of jump in and work on cases and do a lot that you really wouldn't be able to do on the civil side.
Okay, cool. So jumping from the DA and the private firms, you were saying earlier, whenever I talked to you about this before, you were saying that, for example, when you work at a DA's office, you don't get to be too personal and you don't get to spend that much time with your clients. So, how much time do you usually spend, like, what's the shortest amount of time, for example, that you have spent with somebody, be it at a private firm or a DA?
Well, at the DA's office, you're representing a state, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're representing the government, the state government, but you're wanting to represent the people of that state. So in that respect, you would talk to victims of crime, and you would want to, get their input and involvement on how something is being done. But really, your client, so to speak, is the government and the people. In a private case, like a divorce, for example, your client is a person. And it's one person who you're going to have a lot of interaction with. So when you're working for the government, it is very hard. Number one, because you don't have the resources to be able to interact with victims on a consistent basis, and you just don't have the time. You're going to have a ton of cases, and with such a big caseload, you cannot possibly keep up with every single victim and hope to really take hold of your caseload. Whereas in a private firm, you still have a big caseload, but you also have the resources to manage it. You're going to be assigned someone to help you, like a legal assistant or a paralegal, and you can actually devote time to talking one-on-one with a client. In terms of how much time have I spent at the DA's office, you may only do a phone call. You may never actually meet the victim. Whereas with private law practice, you're going to have an intake meeting that may be several hours for the very first meeting before they even hire you. You're going to have strategy meetings. So you spend significant one-on-one time with a client, and they'll email you, they'll call you, because they are paying you money. Whereas in a DA's office or a public defender's office, you're getting paid by the state. So there's very much that thought that when you're a private attorney, they're paying you for a service, and they want good service.
Um, so, with a base number, I think you had said this earlier, whenever you're getting paid by the state, what's the base number for a misdemeanor and felonies that you're getting paid for?
Oh, well, so when you're getting paid by the state, you're getting paid a salary. So you don't work off a retainer basis. Private attorneys do what's called a retainer. So if you ever have to hire a private attorney, how most attorneys should work is they get paid in an upfront amount that is called a retainer. That could be how much that is depends on the type of case. That money gets held in a trust account, and the attorney bills off of that each month, and then you replenish that retainer once it's run out. Criminal cases, because of the amount of evidence and the amount of time that's involved, those you can anticipate would have a higher retainer to them. So if you can't afford an attorney, generally, especially if it's a felony case, an attorney is going to be appointed for you from the public defender's office. So those people are getting paid a salary, so you do not pay that attorney. But if you make a certain amount of income, then you'll be expected to hire your own attorney. You'll then be expected to pay that attorney yourself. Now, depending on if it's a misdemeanor or a felony is going to be much more expensive to hire an attorney and pay that attorney to defend you. You might be looking at, $5,000 to $10,000 for a retainer versus a misdemeanor, which might be as simple as $2,500 to $5,000, depending on what the charge is.
Okay. Um, Now, I said I'd be asked about the shortest case. If you can think of one, what's like, or maybe even just an average, what are the longest cases that you work, like the ones you put the most time into?
A divorce, especially divorce cases, can go on for years. They can be extremely short if people agree on things and are amicable and friendly. If they are not, if it's a fight and if it gets vicious, people can be in the process of getting divorced for years.
Okay. Do you have a favorite case? Again, be vague about it if you do. If not, that's perfectly fine.
I don't really have a favorite. There's none that's a favorite. I guess I love all my cases for different reasons. There are some that get frustrating, but but even then there's parts of it you like as an attorney. You like the fight of it. Other times you're grateful when they're over. Other times you're grateful for the client. Maybe the client was particularly sweet and kind, or made you realize something, made you learn a good lesson. So I there's none that are my favorite. They all are special in their own different ways.
Okay. And so before we go, I have a couple of random questions. But before we get to those, is there anything that you want to talk about in relation to case law, being an attorney, or anything like that you just want to talk about that's interesting, or maybe if somebody wants to be a lawyer and they're on the fence, would you want to convince them or anything like that? It's
Um,
open right now. Go ahead.
I guess if someone is considering that as a profession, I would let them know that do your research. As with any job you're considering, it's not for everyone, and I think a lot of people find that out too late after they've gone to law school and spent the money that is involved in it, because it is not what I think TV makes it out to be. You're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's in limited fields like personal injury, or medical malpractice. So there's certain areas of law where that's possible, but it is not every area of law where you can be making that kind of money. So if it's something you're getting into thinking I'm going to do this and make a lot of money, it's not real. That's not how it is in reality. You should get into any profession because you love it and you're doing it because it's a career, not just a job. So that way, because that's at the end of the day what's going to get you through the long days of hard work, thinking, this is what I love. This is what I get up every day and I'm excited about. And yeah, there's going to be days when you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm ready for Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. But the majority of the time, if you're satisfied and you think to yourself, I could do this for the rest of my life, then you know you've made the right decision.
Awesome. Fantastic. Um, so I have a couple of random questions here. These are non-law or anything related. So if you had to pick a favorite anime and manga.
My favorite anime is K.
Hmm.
I would think I really like the visuals of that anime. But if I had to, like, honestly, there was only one anime. K is my favorite newer anime. But one of the animes that will forever, I guess, have a place in my heart is definitely XXX Holic.
Yep.
Yeah, that's you know that's my favorite.
And
It's such a unique style of artistry, and Clamp, all their animes have something different about them, and they were such an early generation of artists. But that anime in particular, there's just something about it. It was different. It was new to me at that time, and yeah, it just forever will be my favorite, I think.
it's got a really cute style. I like it. So would Holic take the manga? I mean, is it a manga or a light novel? I'm not really
It's a
sure.
it's a manga. They I would have to say yeah, for that as well. Although there is a really good light novel from Clamp called Clover that I also really loved as well.
Right. Okay. And so you studied abroad in Japan a long time ago. What was your favorite place in Japan while you were there?
Kyoto. Kyoto is my favorite. For people who've never been, or are thinking of going, the two major tourist cities are Tokyo and Kyoto. They're completely opposite. So Tokyo is obviously the urban hub. That's where your going to go for the city life. There's a lot of tourist attractions there. Definitely go and, enjoy that. But if you're looking for more of kind of what old Japan would have been like, where there's still urban life in Kyoto, of course, so you'll still find that, but I liked the older side of Japan. Getting to go to the shrines, just getting to see the historical side of Japan. Japan has such a rich history. It's such an old country, and I liked that part. And I think that Kyoto is definitely for those kinds of things. It's for going to see that side of Japan.
Would you ever want to live there or?
No, I would never live there.
Gotcha.
It is wonderful to visit, but for foreigners, it is a struggle. And I say that because Japan is so homogenous. People, it's not that people react badly to foreigners. I don't want to give anyone that impression. It's just that you will feel a little alienated, I think, because everyone who is in Japan is Japanese. And the foreigner population is largely American from the military base on Okinawa. And there's a resentment there towards the American military base, which is understandable. And I think that too, it's just a struggle to fit in, not speaking the language or reading the language or understanding the cultural history. So it's wonderful to visit, but living long term would be extremely difficult.
So two more. Would you ever consider returning there, or, for example, what would be your favorite place to revisit of all the places that you've been?
You mean Japan in particular?
No, it can be anywhere.
Anywhere?
Any of the trips we've taken.
Definitely the Grand Canyon again. I know you hate it, but I love it so much. Definitely the Grand Canyon again. I don't think I'd ever go back to Japan. I did love it. I really loved it. But I think once was enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably go to Europe in the future. I'd really want to go to France. But I definitely want to go to the canyon again. I could go all the time. I love it there.
And then last question. Is there a place that you want to visit before you die? Like just the top tier visit place for you?
Yes. Claude Monet's garden in France would be a top tier must.
The number one spot. Gotta see.
Must visit, yes.
Anything else, or is that the biggest one?
That's a huge one. France in general is a huge one, but if I do go to France, that's a must stop for me.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for the interview. It's gonna be a podcast technically, but you can definitely tell that you studied very, very hard in school, and you've got most of your T's crossed and your I's dotted with your knowledge on law. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Sure.
And I am excited because it's very interesting to me to learn about this stuff. And I can tell you're interested as well, and know that you love what you do, and that's cool. That's the biggest part of it. So thank you.
Thank you.